You know how some songs just get stuck in your head? Or how a music critic can write something that makes you feel the energy of a concert? Well, that's what we're diving into today. We're going to explore the world of sound, from the words we use to talk about music to the amazing ways it actually shapes our brains. Let's get into it. So let's start right there with that huge question. What is it that makes a song totally unforgettable? Is it the story and the lyrics? That melody you can't stop humming? Or maybe it's that epic guitar solo? Turns out it's a really powerful mix of things, and to really get how they work together, we all need to be speaking the same language. And that brings us right here to the language of music. See, before we can talk about a masterpiece, we gotta know what the building blocks are. So let's start with the absolute basics. First up, we've got the composer. This is the architect of the whole thing, the person who actually dreams up the melody and puts the pieces together. Think of people like Benny and Bjorn from ABBA, who wrote some of the biggest pop songs in history. Or, hey, even the songwriter in your favorite local band. It all starts with the composer. Then, of course, you have the lyrics. These are the words, right? The story, the poem that's set to the music. And they can be beautifully simple, like in the Beatles' Let It Be, or incredibly complex, like a verse from Kendrick Lamar. The lyrics are the direct message the artist is trying to send to you, the listener. And here we have the tune. This is the melody. It's the part you find yourself humming in the shower, the sequence of notes that just worms its way into your brain for days. A really great tune, that's the secret sauce that can make a song an absolute classic. And finally, for our basics, there's harmony. Okay, this is where the magic really happens. It's when different notes are played or sung at the same time, and they just sound good together, creating this rich, full sound. I mean, think about the incredible harmonies of a group like the Beach Boys. That's the stuff that adds so much depth and emotion to the music. Okay, so now we've got our basic terms down. Composer, lyrics, tune, harmony. But how does all this work out in the real world? Well, let's jump into our next section and see how music critics use this language, and a whole lot more, to describe what they hear, starting with a few different styles of music. All right, first up on the turntable, rock music. We're talking pure energy, power, and, well, a lot of volume. So how in the world does a writer capture that feeling on a page? I mean, just look at this. When you see a band like this on stage, you can almost feel the sound waves hitting you. The energy is just electric. And critics have a very specific way of talking about it to match that vibe. Now listen to the words used here. Heavy metal guitar solos. The drums are alive with rhythm. See, the critic isn't just saying the drummer played fast. No way. They're using this active, vivid language to put you right there in the crowd, feeling that intensity and the pulse of the music. It's powerful stuff. Okay, so from the raw, gritty power of rock, let's do a complete 180 and talk about the polished, shiny world of pop music. This is the music you hear on the radio, the stuff that's engineered to be super memorable and instantly likable. And this quote right here really nails the heart of pop. Notice those key phrases, catchy tunes, and distinctive style. It's kind of like a formula, right? You create a melody that people can't forget, but then you filter it through an artist's unique personality to make it feel totally new and fresh. All right, let's expand our playlist a bit and talk about world music. Now, this isn't just one single genre. It's more like a giant celebration of countless musical traditions from literally every corner of the globe. So here, the description is all about geography and influence. The writer points out the specific cultural roots of the music, from African rumba all the way to Cuban inspiration. It really shows you how music can take you on a journey around the world. And for our last genre today, let's take a seat in the concert hall for some classical music. This is a style with centuries of history and a really rich, descriptive language all of its own. What's so cool here is how they mix technical precision with really emotional descriptions. You have a word like duet, a piece for just two performers. That gives us the technical setup. But then, right next to it, you have passionate tango, which paints this incredibly vivid emotional picture. It's both exact and totally evocative. So, we've seen how language can capture the beautiful complexity of music. But what about all those simpler sounds that just fill up our world every day? Let's take a quick, fun look at the punchy words we use to describe the noises of everyday life. All right, get ready for a little rapid-fire round of onomatopoeia. Yeah, that's the fancy term for a word that actually sounds like the noise it describes. Let's do it. Bark, bang, smash, sneeze, snore, splash, tap, whistle. They're pretty fun, right? And here's how they pop up in our day-to-day language. We use them to add life and color to our stories. The door slammed shut with a loud bang, or I heard my dad tapping his foot. When you use these words, you don't just understand what happened, you can almost hear it. Okay, so from these intricate harmonies all the way down to a simple splash in a pond, sound is a huge part of how we experience the world. For our final section, let's circle back to music and explore a much bigger question. What is its real purpose, and how does it affect us on a much deeper level? So, is music just a hobby? Something you listen to in the car? Or maybe a fun after-school thing for kids? Or is there something more profound going on when we actually learn to play an instrument? Well, it turns out the research is pretty clear. It is so much more than just fun. Getting a musical education has these incredible, almost compounding benefits. It builds self-discipline because you have to practice. It fosters teamwork when you play in a band or sing in a choir. And as we're about to see, it actually changes the way your brain works by building higher thinking skills. Okay, now this is truly fascinating. Scientists have discovered that the part of our brain we use for really complex problem solving and logical thinking, the exact same area we use for math, is also fired up when we read and play music. It's not just a coincidence that a lot of skilled musicians are also great at math. Their brains are literally making the same kinds of connections. And all of this really leads us to one big final question. When you think about all these incredible benefits, from building personal discipline to literally rewiring our brains for higher level thinking, should learning music be considered a fundamental skill, maybe right up there with learning to read and write? It's definitely something to think about.